All right, we're live. All right then, we're live.
You didn't know? It keeps going. Time for show, time for show, time for show.
Yes. Okay. So, good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Phil.
All right. So, um, the market is going to change as it always does it not?
Sure does.
Okay. So, we did a broadcast not too long ago where you had warned agents about uh, doing marketing like, I just sold this house by looking at it. I put the house on the market, and 5 minutes later, it was sold for 5% over asking, and I'm brilliant, right? When really the optic is that sellers know or think that they could list with a monkey and sell for asking price, and that's not going to last.
Well, and then on top of that, it's really adding to the apprehension of anybody who needs to buy something
To
when
buy
they
something, right? And by the way, most people selling
have to buy something.
have to buy something, right? Because
somewhere, and the
yeah.
market is similar
everywhere.
Yeah. So it's not like, oh, it's okay, you go down to Florida.
No.
I mean, there's like the middle of this country is having like crazy housing booms. It's
bad.
Crazy. Yeah.
So, and each area has sort of like a different reason for it. Like for good morning, George Gabor. Each area has sort of a different reason for it. Like California is probably 20 years behind in new building starts, right? They need to build more houses. They need to stop being afraid that the spotted owl is going to lose its habitat, and they need to start building houses for people, affordable housing for regular folks. And plenty of other places, like for example, New York has always been vertical, right? We have a limited amount of land. We're squeezed in between Connecticut and New Jersey. You can only go up, which we do, but we need to go up from the ground. We're very vertical. That's why Manhattan looks the way it looks like. All right. So, but the market's going to change, and there's sort of a lag where the consumer doesn't get it for a while. For example, when we would take listings in 2007 and 8, there were still sellers who could not get over the idea that their value had gone down because they had 13 or 14 years of appreciation and very recent history of, everything being super overheated. So they couldn't get their head around the fact that, the market had dropped, the market had crashed. And then in 2011 and 12, there were still buyers who didn't get the memo that, the market is starting to get healthy. And when they would make lowball offers, they would learn the hard way that, you have competition, right? We're going to see the same thing with sellers over time, especially with the end of moratoriums and the reintroduction of distressed properties to the market. And this is going to require that sellers change their thinking. And it shouldn't be mourning. It shouldn't be mourning that their property is no longer skyrocketing in value.
Well, never mind in a shifting market. No offense, buyers, but the fact that there are still buyers out there that don't understand that they need to have their gun loaded in order to present an offer, in order to ever get into a property. Hello? You don't even have a chance. You don't even, you just wasted an entire afternoon when you want to go out and look at 5 properties. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't have any time to waste. And, you can go to open houses. They'll accept you probably, if open houses even still exist. But, the fact that buyers haven't adjusted and understand that they need to be, number one, armed and ready with their proof of financing, whether it's a pre approval or a pre-commitment or proof of funds, right? But you also have to learn that you still, and it's going to continue for a little bit, you need to be flexible in time frame. and probably a lot of other things still. Now, I'm not a big fan of waiving inspections and waiving appraisals. I think there are other ways to present offers where you can be very strong, and not have to waive away your rights, basically, to understand what you are purchasing, and to ensure that it's legal and not legal, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, in
Um,
compliance
in
as a
compliance, yeah,
CO, blah blah
yeah.
blah. Right.
So, but there are things that you have to compromise on, and we still get a ton of calls from buyers like just
Yeah.
not getting it, not
Right.
getting it.
So during COVID, for those who've been living under a rock, it became very, very common for sellers to not approve showings without a pre-approval. And there was this almost like, this is so counterintuitive to all the difficulties of a pandemic. But COVID rolled out almost, and this is going to seem weird to say it, but in a peculiar context, COVID rolled out a golden age for buyer agents to get cooperation to the extent that they had never gotten from buyer clients before. And here's what I mean. Buyer clients knew that they had to have pre-approval and proof of funds or else they wouldn't get in. It's a pandemic. Buyer clients knew that bringing Uncle Joe and your stepmother and your father and his stepmother, that was right out the door too, because we could only have two people go through the house. So the millennials mostly stepped up elegantly into their grown-up pantaloons and made decisions on their own and did it without the kids in tow and without the in-laws and everything like that, right?
Good morning, Barbara.
And then now we're going on our third year, 2021. We're in our third year, 2 calendar years of pandemic, and people are starting, it's getting old. People are starting to exhale, and you have sort of a new freshman class of buyers who are having to be told, again, you need to go to the bank. In this market, even if I can get you into the house, if you like it, it's sold. It's gone.
And quite
You weren't
frankly,
ready.
even in a regular market, you are deflating your own buyer power by not being prepared. Okay.
Right.
People are savvy now. This isn't when I got licensed 25 years ago. Sellers didn't really understand about pre-approvals. They really didn't understand about a lot of things. Well, the internet has changed that. Everybody is sort of a semi-expert, right?
Right.
So
So
it's
let's
not, people say, oh, but the realtor just wants to get it sold. That's not typically the case. First of all, we want to get it sold and stay sold. We don't just want an accepted offer for a deal to fall apart in 5 weeks. That's not fun for anybody.
right.
But no, you got to be prepared.
All right. So yeah. So two points here. All right. There are people who have objections to getting a pre-approval before they find something they like because of these bizarre myths that I don't want to have my credit harmed by getting pre-approved. That's baloney. That's hogwash. First of all, one, as they call it, hard pull from a bank does not adversely affect your credit any more than buying an expensive dinner on your MasterCard. Okay? Because it's maybe 1 point. It is negligible. Your FICO score is a fluid thing. It is affected by the percentage of debt that you incur, the amount of balances that you carry, not just paying your stuff on time. There are people whose credit is loaded to the gills and they're wondering why their credit scores aren't higher. And it's because your ratios suck. You're using 90% of your available credit. All right. So people don't understand how credit works and how credit undulates over time. And they don't understand that, yes, we are trying to make the sale, by the way, to your point.
Mhm.
We were hired to make the sale, and we were hired to make the sale. If we're the listing agent, for example, we were hired to make the sale for the benefit of the seller, which means it has to close. Money has to change hands. Deeds have to get recorded. Mortgages have to get funded. Yeah, that's what we were hired to do. Would you say to a fireman, "You're just trying to extinguish the flames"? Well, that's what they do. It's what the fireman does. Like, would you say to a doctor, "Well, you profit from people being sick"? Yeah. So there's a problem that I solve. I don't think I like it when people get ill. I try to make them unill, as a matter of fact. So these silly, cynical, lowest common denominator judgments that people have, which is fueled by, I don't know, media, from movies lately, whatever book. I have no idea what makes people quite so cynical. But
Lawyers have it worse. Lawyers have it worse. What I hear people say about lawyers, I'm just like, wow.
Well,
I think we're in a close second. But the other thing, Phil, is for sellers to really to take advantage, okay? So you don't have to take advantage of this market, right? But if you really truly want to take advantage of the opportunity a seller's market offers, and especially if you're downsizing, you're gonna actually upsizing too. Right now, there's an opportunity because the luxury market didn't quite take off like the regular market. So, but to truly take advantage of that market, there's some risk involved. There's
yes.
some risk involved. And if your broker's not having that honest conversation with you, you should be rethinking that.
Yeah.
Because now is the time for you to figure out how you can perhaps purchase before you buy. Or my brother, who's probably not listening because he's in Colorado time, he wanted to take advantage. He's a single guy. I said, pack up your shit, move into your mobile trailer, okay, and live there until your property sells and then go,
Yeah.
So that's not really a risk. It maybe isn't super comfortable. So you can, if you don't want to take a huge risk by buying before you sell, well, then you can do what I told my brother to do. Find family if you don't have an awesome pickup truck with a mobile home that attaches and snowmobile 200 days a year and whatnot. If you're not him, you can find family that you can crash with. You can try to find some, it's really difficult to find seasonal rentals right now. But also we've talked about it. You can put your property on the market, about to close on, actually, neighbor across the street. We put it on in September for a closing in March. It sold immediately. Nobody was like, March? No. It sold immediately. And that gave her the time to maneuver and do what she needed to do. There was a lot of options, but it's not just, I'm going to put my house on the market. And if you don't have a broker who's explaining these things to you, and then all of a sudden you're going to get that accepted offer and then start panicking, that's not going to work for you.
Certainty is worth inconvenience. To consumers right now.
All right? Cash, so, like more cash.
Right. We are talking to sellers right now. We're saying, well, I would put it on the market now, but I don't want to close till June. Put it on the market.
Great.
We'll just put there that you're not closing until June.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. We don't want to close until June. You don't want to close until August. Buyers will trade certainty for inconvenience. If they have to go month to month on where they're living, or if they have to extend what they're selling right now, they will make that trade 9 times out of 10, in my opinion, because there is such a thin margin of getting certainty in this market.
I've seen more leasebacks in in this year than I've seen. And what's a leaseback? It's where you get to stay in the property. Yeah. Or I haven't seen a lot of this, but I don't know why. Now is the ideal time to do a rent with an option.
Yep.
Right. And lock them into today's market rate.
So speaking of changing thinking, we've talked about buyers, we've talked about sellers. We certainly between the lines are speaking to our own agents in the industry. Some people that need to change your thinking, since you brought up leasebacks, are real estate attorneys. Okay. This is not the sort of market where your status quo concern about that leaseback that went south in 1997 needs to come up. All right. We know of attorneys that are like, I will not do a prepossession because if they don't close, or I won't do a post-possession because what if they never leave? Okay, yeah, that happened once back in 2007, back in 94. You've been snake bitten by it. It was a very unpleasant situation. Yes, get over it. Get over it, because the whole set of dominoes cannot fall if one of them will not move. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So if the seller needs a lease back for 60 days, believe me, they don't want it either, but the buyer wants to lock in the rate. Everything has to happen a certain way. The only solution here is a lease back. The attorneys have to stop being so liability conscious and start being flexible and open-minded about terms that will make things happen in what is an unprecedented, cartoonish, crazy market. So attorneys, stop it. Those of you who are being overly cautious and putting the kibosh on things, there's no deal for you to advocate for if you keep killing the deals. All right. We need creative solutions.
Be nice to attorneys at the beginning.
I'm being nice to your attorney. I'm being nice to the one you sleep with. I'm thinking of certain attorneys that just, they wouldn't do a lease back like it would disbar them.
I have learned that it's really because they don't know the language. There is language to protect everybody in every situation. So it's just a matter, and attorneys out there, just reach out to other attorneys who do it more often. I find that attorneys are very willing to share with one another. We pick Bill Schilling's brain all the time. We pick Jay Hogan's brain. We pick Liz Hudak's brain, my husband, the attorney, when we have language that we're unsure of. So I appreciate an attorney not being willing to step into something if they're not sure they can protect, but then just go get that information. There's all kinds of forums you can go on and ask other attorneys. I mean, they have even more sharing than realtors.
They do. It's out there. The information is out there, but I think some of it is a little bit hubris and a little bit
lazy
of stubbornness and a little bit. Yeah. There's certainly
human nature thing. It's not a attorney thing.
Because the one attorney I'm thinking of, and I know we got to go.
Yeah.
Made it seem like they were taking the ethical high road, and the attorneys that would, hello, Jennifer, that would do the idea weren't. And that was not true either. So it is the high road if you're doing something creative to help your client. It's certainly well within painting within the lines.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So think creative, outside of the box. There is some risk involved for sellers. There's some risk involved for buyers too.
There's risk involved in getting in your car to go get your groceries.
Yes. But everything good is outside of your comfort zone. So if you're unsure, reach out. We'd be happy to help you. We have about 90 agents in all kinds of areas in the Hudson Valley. Just pop a comment below and have a fantastic day.
We're done now? We're done.
I have to hit end.